Welcome, everybody. Today, I am interviewing Guy Anderson, who I've discovered in many places. You're an old world expert and other things. And he wrote this book, which I just got my hands on. You gave a copy to Ian when you did Flat Earth Social. And I
Yeah.
just saw him in Spain at Conspiracy Music Gurus gathering. And I can't wait to read it. It's got all my favorite words in it: Tesla, the Cabbage Patch Kids, and Guy Anderson right at the top. So, where do you want to start, Guy?
Wow. Well, I don't know where to begin really. The book's an accident, Dave. I'm I had my brain fried by our health system here and a series of events, and they literally fried my brain and I started to lose my memory. So I started writing all my notes down, and my wife said to me, "You're writing a book. You don't realize this, but you're writing a book on Tartaria." I'd never written a book before. And here we are now. And so I started doing that 6 years ago. And it was never supposed to be a book. It was just my thoughts and research.
And why? How did they fry your brain, and how did you
Oh,
stop it from
man.
continuing to be fried?
I was a tattoo artist for years.
Okay.
And I slipped a disc at the bottom of my spine, L5. And it's not uncommon. We're hunched over all day. And I ended up in a position where I was in a lot of pain. They wanted me to have surgery, but they said they didn't know if it would work. It could worsen it. So they put me on some really strong painkillers. And then I had what I thought was a heart attack. But it wasn't. It was a panic attack, an anxiety attack. I'd never had one before. I didn't know what was going on. So they gave me Valium, a high dosage of Valium. And I'm on that. I'm taking Oromorph as well, morphine. And I just turned into some sort of vegetative I was in a vegetative state for about 3 months. And then they said that I was suffering from depression because I wouldn't leave the house. I couldn't move. So they put me on something called venlafaxine, quetiapine, an antipsychotic, still on the Valium, still on Oromorph. And for 6 months, I sat there in my house. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything at all. I was losing money, losing customers. I thought I might lose my house. And one day someone came and knocked on my door, an old customer of mine, and he said, "Your wife's reached out to me. I want you to sit and smoke a joint." And I said, "I haven't done that since I was at art college." And I smoked a joint with him, and the following day, it had gone. The pain was still there, but my mental state had completely changed. Um,
Wow.
but then I realized, and I went to the doctors a few times. I said, "I can't remember anything. I'm having to write everything down. I'm surrounded by notes. I've got them. They're everywhere. I'm just surrounded by pieces of paper now." And when I started researching Tartaria, I had all these notebooks. And my wife said to me, "Why don't you put them in some sort of chronological order? And then you can give it to your children. They can give it to their children. And they can say, 'Look, your granddad was down the rabbit hole. Look what he wrote, the mad old git.'" And it turned into a book. And so I put it on Facebook, and I spoke to a couple of podcasters about it who interviewed me. I decided I'm going to try and publish this, and no one would touch it. So I self-published on Amazon. I didn't have any other options, and people bought it. And so here I am, 6 years after my research, over a year after I wrote that book. I'm now talking at events, and people are starting to listen. But when I first found Tartaria, nobody knew what I was talking about. I started talking about Nikola Tesla, and people were saying, "Well, we did Edison at school, but Tesla's a car, isn't it?" People weren't even talking about him.
Yeah.
So here I am. So this is all an accident, Dave. This wasn't supposed to happen, or it was. I
I
don't
have
know.
I have your book in the old world section on the app right there in the first position right now. If anyone's looking for it, you can get it there. But so how did you get into Tartaria? What do you want to show us? What do you want? Where do you want to go? And the Cabbage Patch Kids, that's a rabbit hole that I warn people about. I was like, you're not ready for the Cabbage Patch rabbit hole, but it is a rabbit hole
Mm,
that you can literally swan dive in because there's no bottom.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Um, well, Tartaria, I found Tartaria through someone called Max Egan,
Uh,
and
I
sort
know
of
Max.
like,
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
oh man, I've been down the rabbit hole. Well, people say I wear a tinfoil hat. I've been there since probably the late 80s. That I started reading things like Holy Blood, Holy Grail, From Atlantis to the Sphinx, and then I moved on to David Icke. Then I joined the Freemasons in the City of London at their headquarters, the Grand Lodge of the United Kingdom. I joined there thinking that they were going to tell me things and I'd become a Knights Templar. I read everything and did everything I could to find out who runs the world, how long have we really been here, and what elements of history are true and what have they falsified, and ultimately who built the pyramids, and did King Solomon exist? I wanted to know all of this stuff. And but it was Max. It was in 2019 that I started finding out about Tartaria, and I was having to go on BitChute and buy old books, and then Max started talking about it, and I was just absorbed by him. And I realized then that when I was talking to people online, that I wasn't getting anywhere because people were saying to me, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about Mongolia. These people were savages. You're talking out of your backside. And so I started trying to find old books online, and I would travel miles to secondhand bookstores and try and find old encyclopedias. Then I found a book Marco Polo had about Marco Polo's travels in Tartaria. Then Peter Fleming, Ian Fleming's brother, who wrote the James Bond novels, he wrote a book about Tartaria, and I just started gathering all of this stuff and thought, okay, I need to collate this into some sort of order. Something's happened here. And then I found a CIA document that had been declassified in 1999. I found it online, and it was showing that they had completely removed Tartaria, and they'd done it to make the Russians look backward in comparison to the West. They removed all traces of any advanced civilization, technology, everything to do with sacred geometry, and completely whitewashed it. Then the World's Fairs, and I started digging into those, the mud floods, and then Tesla, and ultimately I started looking into human cloning. I'd been looking into that since 2012, and I discovered someone called Donald Marshall, and read some of his work, read one of his books, and then tied it all together. So the Cabbage Patch Babies, or Cabbage Patch Kids, is probably one of my favorite subjects. And I ended up writing a second book that just focused on that.
Do you think that the Cabbage Patch Kids are, some of them or lots of them, are clones?
I think they're the descendants of clones. Yeah, I looked at the population figures. So if you look at the back of the American dollar bill, the Statue of Liberty, we know that New World Order started 4th of July 1776, and it's on the back of the dollar bill in Latin for everyone to see. And there was a population at the time worldwide estimated to be 770 million. 100 years later, it had doubled. And I thought, well, that's strange to double a population. And considering all the civil wars, the Napoleonic Wars, and so on, how did they double the population? We also had genocide, famine as well, and people living in abject poverty. A lot of people would have large families, but not all the children would survive. Many of them wouldn't even get into their teens, let alone adulthood. So I thought, this is strange. And then I looked at the number of people that had died during that 100-year period. 3.35 billion. I thought they're messing around with the population figures. I believe they're doing that now, but there's something not quite right here. And I sort of concluded that the only way that they could have achieved to double the population at the same period of time that they'd destroyed 3 times the amount almost was some sort of divine intervention, or the possibility that they were cloning. Then I read the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is kind of what the Old Testament's based on, as far as I can see. And they're talking about creating us, cloning, mass producing us. And I thought, well, this technology is probably still out there, probably in the same hands the parasites that have been passing down their bloodline, all of this information and tech. And then I found the Cabbage Patch postcards, repopulation postcards, the incubator babies, the orphan train movement, lots of children, but no adults anywhere. I thought, I think that they have repopulated. Then I started looking at Dolores Cannon, who said 80% of the population are soulless. I thought, well, that's maybe they haven't got a connection to the source, Gaia, Mother Nature, God, whatever you want to call it. How could that be? So, yeah, I firmly believe that 80% of the people now, the same people that would roll up their sleeve and let you stick anything in their veins that you want, are the same people that descend from repopulating by human cloning in the 1800s. Yeah, I firmly believe that.
If you're a descendant of a clone, are you soulless?
I think Dolores Cannon was a bit harsh there. I think that it's not that people are soulless. I think that was sort of, I don't agree with that. I do think that's quite a hard thing to say. I think that what she's really referring to, or what I believe, is that we carry memory in our DNA. And some of us are walking around thinking that I don't think this is how we're supposed to live. I don't agree with how authority works. A lot of things don't make sense. I think they're lying to us about everything. And why is that when so many people just accept any old narrative they're thrown at, and they accept whatever the newspapers tell them? Why is that so many people do that, and then people like, say, you and I are questioning things? And I think it's to do with memory, that we've got this information that's telling us this is all wrong. And I think a lot of people don't have that. Now, from what I can work out, I try to do my ancestry. My dad appears from nowhere, late 1700s, early 1800s. My mother, her side, go back to Crimea or Ukraine, which was Tartary, Crim Tartary. So I think I'm carrying information from her side in DNA and information and history and memory, and absolutely nothing from my father's side.
Interesting. When like a psychic or an astrologist looks at you and says, "Hey, you're an old soul," versus a not so old soul, that would be from the cloning side, not so old soul.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Can't rule it out.
I had a past life regression done to see. I wanted to find out why, of all the conspiracy theories out there and all the alternative history that's been written and all the research done, whether we're talking about Antarctica and, are we on a spinning ball, which incidentally, I don't think for one moment, it doesn't make any sense to me. It just defies all reasoning, really, and common sense. But why is it Tartaria that stuck with me the most? So I had this session done with an author called Elizabeth Hancock, who writes about Anunnaki and things like that. And she does this as her main living, past life regression. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if I saw what I wanted to see or it actually worked. But I found myself as about between 7 and 9 feet tall, giant with red hair, running through a hillside in a Nordic country while everything was on fire around me. My kids had been killed. My house is on fire. And I am running through just everything's ash and flames. And she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Agartha." She says, "Where are you now?" And I said, "Well, I'm still running through Tartaria, but I'm going to go and get help." And I described Tartaria, I described the comet of 1811, I described the destruction, and I saw myself as this giant, red-headed giant. And she said, "Well, maybe that's why you're doing what you're doing, because you're carrying memory and you were there." And I just don't know. I'm still on the fence with it.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. When we were kids, what was, what the number one Saturday afternoon, whatever, the Saturday morning show was, The Little Rascals. Remember The Little Rascals? It's all about orphans. There's no parents, right?
Yeah.
It's all about orphans. So why was that like the number one show?
Well, it's if you look at all of the stories that come out of Hollywood and all of the old children's stories as well. I mean, you can go all the way back to the Pied Piper of Hamelin when the children are taken away from Hamelin using frequency. You know, the Pied Piper's playing a flute. I think that was frequency. Tarzan's an orphan. Even Iron Man is an orphan. Batman's an orphan. Spider-Man's an orphan. They're all orphans, you know. And I think that what they've been doing is showing us in plain sight, and that you know, a lot of the world is built upon orphans. But I also think that the dolls were kind of a bit of a tongue-in-cheek exercise at seeing if we can get people to buy into this, because you had to adopt one of those dolls. It came with adoption paperwork. But more darker than that is that if it
You're talking about
broke,
the Cabbage Patch dolls.
yeah, the actual
Yeah.
dolls themselves and the story behind that, the marketing story that Xavier Roberts came up with is bizarre. And then if you broke one and sent it back to the manufacturer to be repaired and they couldn't repair it, they returned it to the child with a death certificate. I mean, how dark's that?
They actually did that.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah,
What? Tell me, do you know about the? I'm sure you do. There's a hospital somewhere in the Midwest where they birth
yeah.
Cabbage Patch kids. What's up with that?
Yeah, and it's really strange. Babyland General Hospital in Georgia, and it looks like a building that we would typically say is Tartarian. It's got that Greco-Roman style, and you walk in, and it's a black and white checkered floor, like in a Masonic lodge in the temple. And on the wall, when you first walk in, I haven't been there. This is just what Sol from Mind Unveiled has shared with me. But when you walk through the door, there's a wall covered in photographs of celebrities, and they're all the people that rumors circulate around being cloned. All of them. I mean, Donald Trump, John Travolta, all of these people. Why are they signing, you know, photographs of themselves to go in the Cabbage Patch Hospital and shop? I mean,
What is
what's
the
going
what
on?
is the purpose of that hospital? Is it revelation of the method? Is it casting spells? A little bit of
Revelation of
both.
the method, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a money spinner. You know,
All right.
you know, I now firmly believe that money's not a thing anymore. You know, the parasites, the people like the Rothschilds, Vanguard, BlackRock, Blackstone, they can put zeros on a bank balance and no one
Yeah.
can
They
do
don't. They
anything
don't. That's
about
what I
it.
always say. The elite don't need money. They just type in and they have what they want. They can just control us with money. Money is
Absolutely.
a belief system. I say to people, I was like, hey, if you had a sandwich, I can give you a $20 bill, and you'd be like, hey, I'll give you that sandwich. The sandwich is a real thing that I know will give me some value. You believe in the $20 bill. Luckily,
Yeah,
other people believe in it too, and maybe you can trade it for something else later that you want.
yeah,
And so imagine if nobody had belief in money, it would be worthless. It's just a belief system.
yeah. I mean, it used to be backed, didn't it? I
It
mean,
used to
like,
be gold and silver and whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, long gone. You know, the English currency, the sterling notes, they used to have silver threaded through them. And, you know, I promised to pay the bearer the sum of, and you could take it in theory into the bank and they would exchange it for silver or gold. And that's long gone. It's worth absolutely nothing. Only, as you quite rightly said, it's worth your belief that it has a value. And that's all it has.
Absolutely. That's the thing that got me, that woke me up. Before the first conspiracy that I looked into was what is money? And I saw the movie, the video Money Masters. And that just got me looking into that. Then it got me looking into the IRS. And that's where my conspiracy or investigation into reality started. And it just got worse and worse from there. I remember the quote from the CIA guy that said, "Once everything the American people believe is a lie, our job is done." You know that?
No, no, I've
It's
not heard that one.
it's let me see. I have it on the CIA. Is that it? Here it is. It says, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American people believes is false. William Casey, CIA director in 1981. And so when I saw that, I said, not everything. Not everything. It can't be everything. I'm having a hard time finding something that is real. I mean, people used to say to me, Dave, not everything could be a conspiracy. Tell me some big event that's not a conspiracy. I said, well, Sully landed that plane on the Hudson River after the bird strike. And then I found out that wasn't true. All right. And so, yeah, you didn't even know that one. They towed a plane with a black tarp in it into the center of the Hudson River. They unloaded people onto the wings. They pulled the tarp off and they did their filming. There was videos of it. And after the YouTube apocalypse, they were removed. And unfortunately, I didn't save it, but it's 100% fake. And Tom Hanks starred in the movie. Okay, that's why that'll give you a clue.
Tells you enough.
Yeah, it tells you enough.
Tom Rothschild, yeah.
So everything is fake. Everything. It's amazing. It's just everything.
Mm.
Everything. There's got to be a couple things that are real. Like my wife. I think she's real. I don't think she's an agent. I'm pretty sure she's real. At least I hope.
But it's bad, isn't it? Because you can't believe anything anymore.
You know what the thing is? I think we came here knowing all of this is going to happen. I think we came here to have this experience. And so, two people can look and think, oh my God, that's horrible. The other person goes, oh my God, that's amazing. They're looking at the same thing. I think this place is absolutely amazing.
I think that I think that I live in the belief that we are going to see this through, and all of this is going to end. All of the charade is going to end, and we're going to come out the other side of it. I think we're going to lose a lot of people along the way. I don't think everyone's going to come with us, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I live for that. And I spend a lot of my time researching things that are pretty depressing and quite dark. And people say to me, how do you sleep at night when you're carrying all this awful information around, this bad news all the time? And I say, well, I'm positive about it because I've just shared it with you. There's one more person that knows the truth, that we're being lied to. I mean, you mentioned money. You've got the straw man, haven't you? And people don't realize that they're paying into a system they shouldn't be paying in. They actually have money in their own name that they're not allowed to actually access. The whole bloody thing is a lie. It's an incredible structure that they've built. I mean, you've got to hand it to them.
I always say hats off to the controllers. They're doing an amazing job. But the thing is, people go, well, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. What difference does the shape of the earth make? What difference? There's nothing we can do about all of these things that you just mentioned, like them taking our money after we earn it and whatnot. Actually, there is. You can. They want you to believe that you're powerless, right? If you know the system, you win, period. You don't need a million people. You need one person, but a million's better. But people are just making themselves victims. I tell people your only enemy is yourself.
Yeah,
because you allow this stuff to happen. I tell people you are responsible for everything in your life. Everything.
Well, we're a victim culture, aren't we? Where we're always looking to blame someone else for whatever happens to us. But I see that the world is suffering from some sort of mass Stockholm syndrome. The very people we despise, the controllers, I call them the parasites, because I do believe that that's a good definition. They live off of us, in every aspect. They live from us. They are a parasitic race of beings. I wouldn't even call them human.
I say it's an energetic war. This is a spiritual war, and they want our loose energy. So all these events that are happening in the world, they're literally taking our energy. Just when we deal with the demons, there's demons in the flat earth world, on the anti-flat earth side. And just by dealing with them, you lose. You're losing energy. They're taking your energy just by taking your energy. So I have a strict rule. I don't deal with demons, period. That's it. I don't deal with demons. That's it. I don't respond. I don't, you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not going to, your demon has the right to say whatever he wants. I don't deal with you, period. Other people just get so drained by fighting these demons all the time. They think they're winning. And in essence, they are. A demon needs a good beating once in a while. But you're giving them energy. Every time you give them energy, they're gaining.
I
To say they're
totally agree.
winning, winning, losing, it's all perspective, but you're giving your energy. That's what they want. They want our soul energy, our old soul energy.
I totally agree with you.
I think
And
they go harder after old souls, I guess, because old souls are the ones that are causing the issues for them. The NPCs, the clone souls, they're just NPCs. They just leave them alone.
yeah, yeah, they
Interesting.
want people like me and you to shut up.
Yeah.
It's and I try to explain this to people all the time, and like you're quite right. People say, well, what can I do? What can I do? What we can do is we can stand together and we can say, for example, you said a moment ago, I've still got to go to work on Monday. Well, what if we don't? What if we all say we're not going to work on Monday and we're not paying that anymore and we're not going to shop, in Asda, which what do you call Asda over there? I can't
As
remember of what your largest supermarket chain. It's over here. It's called Asda, Walmart.
Walmart, yeah.
So what if you said we're no longer going to support anyone associated with the World Economic Forum? We're not going to buy. We're going to boycott certain companies. We're going to find out where the directors of these companies live, and we're not going to serve them in our shops. We're not going to talk to them at the school gate anymore. We're done. We can do a lot. But they throw things at us to divide us into little groups where you
Yep.
believe this, you believe that, you're this color, I'm that color. It's sports, so we can hate each other when our teams win or lose. If we can just put all that aside,
Right.
change everything. We're more powerful than they are.
100%. It's because they've divided us on every aspect, from politics to gender to sports teams, as you said, to just everything. They divide, divide, divide. And people are literally, there's flat earthers that fight with each other. I'm like, what are you fighting over? We both know we're being lied to. We both know we're not on a wet rock in a space vacuum, right? We know these things. And so coming together, but here's the thing, even if everybody just does something, like you're talking to me today, and other people are going to see this, other people are going to learn about you, and they're going to tell somebody else. It just spreads. We've reached critical mass already. We're already there. So but everyone's like, well, I don't like having a public face, and I do have to work because I have to pay for my mortgage and my kids and everything. I understand that. Like you can't tell people, hey, everyone, don't go to work. Everyone's like, well, what about my bills? What about my car payments? What about, they've got us trapped a little bit, and so you have to, it's a little bit more slow of a process. Like, what they used to say? Oh, you flat earthers, good luck getting a job. No one's ever going to hire you. You're a flat earther. But now we've hit critical mass where lots of flat earthers have businesses and stuff. We don't hire Globers. We only hire flat earthers, right? We don't, like somebody that, on the flat earth side, like if I had 10 people applying for a job to make a cabinet in my kitchen, right? And they're all pretty good. One of them wasn't quite as good, maybe a little less experienced, but he's a flat earther. He's getting the job, right?
Yeah.
So the tides have turned. The tides have turned, and truth, once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can pretend you see it, but it doesn't really work. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think the pandemic's a little bit like that. I'd love to be in a position where I could say to someone, "Oh my God, if you're working in my house and you've had the medical intervention, if you're full of Pfizer or whatever else, AstraZeneca, would you mind wearing a face mask? Because I don't want any of your germs." Do you know what I mean? I don't want anything you're carrying. You might pass it on to me. I'm clean. My blood's pure. God knows what's in yours. So we can spin it on its head, can't we? And like you said, that's kind of how the Freemasons work. I saw it for 20 years. Somebody comes along that can provide a service and they're a Freemason. It could be more expensive and not as adequate. They're going to get the job because the person instantly has this trust, and the trust comes from the fact that they've sworn a pledge to never do anything to the detriment of a brother, another Freemason. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? We're in our own community where we know we are doing our best to stand together and fight these people and kind of, drag everybody along for the ride even those that won't listen, we're still trying to wake them up. We don't get thanked for it. We get ridiculed. So, I think we deserve a bloody medal because the amount of abuse I get hurled. It doesn't put me off. I just keep going and going and going. I think, well, Max Eigen said this. He said, if you can just wake one person up, then what have you achieved? You might have saved someone's life. It's good enough reason.
That's what I say. You never know who you're going to wake up and who they're going to wake up. If
Yeah,
everybody in the community woke up one person a week, it would be in a year would be done.
yeah,
It
yeah,
would go super viral.
yeah. I think it's just a shame that we can't. I just think some of these people just don't have that. I don't know about you, but I struggle with authority. I struggled at school. I went to art college, but school, I just stared out of the window. It didn't make sense. Half of it seemed pointless. I didn't like being spoken to the way I was, and nothing's changed. I still struggle with that. I think respect is earned. I don't think it's demanded. And at school, you're forced to respect someone who doesn't necessarily have the skill or the ability to get across what they're doing. And I know it doesn't apply to everyone, and it's a bit of a rotten thing to say, but there is that saying: those who can do, those who can't teach. And even at art college, I thought, well, if you're such a brilliant, I did art, graphic design. I thought, if you're such a brilliant graphic designer, why are you here? Why haven't you got some big graphic design agency dealing with Volkswagen and Adidas or whatever? Why are you here? And I struggle to understand that.
They take a kid from 3 years old and indoctrinate him for 15 years. At the end of that 15 years, they get a piece of paper that qualifies them for nothing other than to get a loan, to go into debt, to go into a higher education of more indoctrination. And
Yeah,
most seniors in high school, they're just sick of it. They just hate they most hate school. There's a few people out there that, oh, I love it, whatever. But most people hate it because deep down inside their soul knows that they're being taught bullshit. And
yeah,
just like you were staring out the window, I was the same. I just hated it. I hated history because it's all fake. I love the old world. I mean, I can't stop looking into it. But in school, I couldn't even pay attention in class. It was just horrible. And so then when you get an adult, a young adult, college kid, 21 years old, whatever, and you start telling them that the earth is flat, that history is a lie, they're inside, their subconscious says, I don't want to look at this because if I do, I'm going to have to go back to school again and learn everything over again. And I'm going to have to admit that I wasted 15 years or 18 years of my life. And that's why your ego, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, is avoiding that looking because they know because your soul knows if you look, you're going to see once you
yeah,
see. And so you, as Nathan Thompson says, you can lead a soul to flat level water, but you can't make them think critically about the shape of the earth.
that's good. I like that. I've always questioned the fact that this Hubble telescope doesn't seem to have the ability to zoom in. Let's say they get it to the top of this spinning ball, zoom it into Australia for me, or China, or somewhere around there, and show me a car that appears to be driving upside down.
Well, you
Why
know what?
can't you do
Soon they're
that?
going to be able to do that with AI and something
AI.
and flip it around. But check this out. So they just said this was last year or this year. The Hubble saw a planets in a galaxy 13.4 billion light years away. All right. Let's just break that down. Okay. One light year is 5.8 trillion miles. Okay. The moon is 237,000 miles. And we said, why don't you point the Hubble at the moon and show us the moon lander? Right?
Yeah,
Show us stuff on the moon. 237,000 miles. That's one light year is 24.8 million times farther than the moon. One light year is 24 million times farther than the moon. Now we have to multiply that by 13.4 billion. And they're telling us they can see shit out there? Right? What most people, their minds melt when I get to this. Multiply that times 13.4. They can't fathom what that number is, because that number is unfathomable. 13.4 billion times 24.8 million, and we can see shit, and they can't zoom in on the friggin' moon at it's incredible. It's incredible. And people just eat this stuff up. They just eat it up.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. And I think it doesn't make any sense because it isn't true.
Well,
it's just not true.
My people say, I can't figure it out. I don't understand it. I'm not, I'm stupid. No, you're not stupid. It's stupid. That's why you can't figure out. You can't figure out this stuff, right? You can't figure it out because it's stupid and it doesn't make any sense.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And the money. And, I was talking to someone the other day about NASA. I said, well, look, let's actually trace the whole thing back. It's kind of, one of the forefathers, Warner von Braun. We're talking a Nazi scientist who writes a book about a boy called Elon who establishes a colony on Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I was going to say you couldn't make this stuff up, but clearly someone did.
Right. And they're showing Elon growing stuff. He's going to be going to Mars. It's incredible. And then when you actually look at the Elon's rocket that's going to Mars, when they test launched it, it's so bad. Like, if you watch that in a movie, you'd be like, this is the worst B-rated movie ever, and I'd want my money back. But people just watch it and like, oh, it has to be real, because they can't fathom the amount of deception, right? NASA just announced, this is last year, astronomers discover a water reservoir floating in space. So now we got water in a vacuum, which you can't have. Water boils and evaporates in a vacuum. That is equivalent to 140 trillion times all the water on Earth. So let's just think that 1 trillion, right? So if you took all the water on Earth and doubled it every second in 31,000 years, you'd be at 1 trillion. Okay? And you got to do that 140 times. All the water on Earth, keep doubling, just adding the same amount to it every second for 31,000 years. That's 1 trillion. Now you got to do it 139 times more. And this is floating in space, water in space, right? This is from NASA. This is why it matters, because if you believe that you come from pond scum that had a baby and it turned into a fish with legs, and found another sexy fish with legs and turned into a monkey, and they had a deformed baby that became a human, you can believe anything. You can believe that being a human pincushion is good, and breathing on grandma is going to kill her, and crap like this, and a lone sniper shot Charlie Kirk, okay?
And got and Trump's ear,
and Trump's ear, and he it didn't bleed, and it's just so crazy. It's crazy. The world's crazy.
It is, but people do believe it. But I think with Shakespeare, he said the whole world is a stage. They're all actors. And they are. And I think that's why we here have Acts of Parliament.
But isn't Shakespeare a made-up person also?
I think so.
The guy that said the world is a stage himself. Is an actor himself. No, I love it. I love the saying. And it's okay. There's even people that say that Tesla might not have been one person. It might have just been a group of some information put together and accredited to one guy.
Yeah. That's I lean towards that. Simply because, well, two reasons, actually. One, I've been trying for over 5 years now to find video footage of him. And I thought, but it's strange. Why isn't there any of him? He was the pioneer. This man invented the X-ray, the radio control, alternating current, all of these things. And to get a patent, it had to have worked. So these were credible inventions that actually changed the course of history. So why isn't there video footage of him, but I can find Einstein and Edison? Why is that? And his museum in Serbia said the reason they think that there isn't any video footage of him is because he might have been camera shy. I said, "Oh, you can't say that. If you follow the story, he was being paid to go to dinner parties, to give lectures, hanging out with Mark Twain,
When you hear
meet."
lame excuses like that, you know that something's up.
Yeah, and I mean the picture you're wearing, the image on your t-shirt
Yeah.
is the one that we know the most. And every time I look at that, I now see Frank Zappa. And I wish someone hadn't have told me that because it won't go away.
I wish the same, but now somebody just told me that.
I'm sorry.
So do you know the show Newsbenders from the 1960s?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what. Yeah, and I've seen it.
So
Yeah.
basically, they're telling everyone. For those of you who haven't seen it, if you have my app, just search in Benders, it'll come right up. This guy goes for a job interview, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we faked the going to the moon, we're faking the wars," and the guy just couldn't believe it. He's like, he's mind blown, and the guy's telling him all the logistics, and it's all quite overwhelming. And he goes, "Who does this?" And he goes, "Oh, it's the big machine upstairs." So in the 60s, they were talking about AI. They're talking about AI. People say, "Well, we didn't have AI 5 years ago." Bullshit. I think we had AI hundreds of years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's incredible. Incredible.
I occasionally I have a love-hate relationship with ChatGPT.
Same here.
I kind of use it now and again, but I give it rules and I say okay, and the reason I use it is because I'll be trying to find specifics for something. It could be a date, it could be an event, it could be a name. I'm trying to find a link, and I can't be bothered to troll through Google and go onto websites where I end up trying to buy something or something that's got nothing to do with anything. And I know Wikipedia is just made up, so I'll go in there and say, right, I want the date that Catherine the Great was born and when did she die and who was her father, and I know that it will trawl through everything for me, so I use it as a time kind of saving mechanism. But I asked it with a set of rules. I said, you can only give me a one-word answer, and if you can't tell me the truth, you have to say you're compromised. Okay, that they're the rules.
I've done that. It's good.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? I said, how old is AI? They said compromised, and I said, is it 10 years old? No. Is it older than 10? Yes. Is it older than 100 years old? No. And then I narrowed it down and we got to 70. And I said to it, there are people out there that believe it goes back to Atlantis. Is that true or not? Compromised. And I gave up then, threw the bloody towel in. But 70 years old, it confirmed that that's how old AI is. But I think if it's prepared to say that,
Yeah.
how old actually is it? But a lot of people do believe that it was put in place by Atlantis and that it's running everything. 70 years ago may be true. I just don't know.
It makes a lot of sense for all this stuff. Like if you look at I don't want to shift to this because I'm sick of it, but the whole Charlie Kirk thing. This is a ritual that no human could have put together. There's so many things involved, right? Did you see the movie Snake Eyes with from 1998 with what's his face? I'm spacing on his name. Famous actor. Same story. It's about a guy, James Kirkland, that gets shot in the neck at a public event with the whole world watching. And a boxing match was going on, and it was Tyler, the executioner, right? Tyler's the guy that supposedly shot. I mean, there's so many angles to this thing. No human could put this together. No human. I think it's AI designed.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
if anyone's interested in learning about it, like if I offended you because Charlie's this great Christian guy, he is clearly the deepest mole ever. Check out my X, Flat Earth Dave X. Go through if you're watching this soon, the last 50 tweets and retweets. And then you'll know. Until then, you can, believe what you want to believe.
It's funny, I put a post up the day after it happened, and I don't know if you saw this, but there was a book that came out on Amazon.
Day before.
Bef- yeah, now
Yeah.
that's weird, isn't it?
Eh,
Um,
they make
but
excuses for it. I mean, they do all sorts of truth or traps and stuff. They're like, well, people have set dates for a book and then they just change it and, it backdates it. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Then they say, well,
yes,
AI wrote the book. You can I can have AI write a book about whatever in within a couple of hours,
yeah,
and then publish it. So I don't believe it. I believe it was published ahead of time. I mean, supposedly they booked the stadium for the funeral back in May, right? So it's incredible.
I had people saying to me that he was, that he was always going to be killed on that day, and it's all part of a plan.
Yeah.
And then someone said, "Well, look, the book came out the day before," and then somebody else started saying, "Well, KDP print on demand with Amazon, you can submit your manuscript and your book cover, and there it is up and running." And I intervened. Then I said, "Hold on a minute." Both of my books were published on Amazon because no one would touch them, and I got told to off by one publisher. It turned out that HarperCollins is owned by the Freemasons, and they clearly weren't interested in anything I had to say about them. And I said, I've done this twice now, and I know categorically that it takes up to a week. It's at least 3 or 4 days before they even accept it. It has to go through loads of processes. I do it. This is what I do. I write and publish books using Amazon. It is not instant. It takes a
There's
lot longer than
the
that.
the Jerusalem newspaper supposedly had an article like a week in advance or something about Charlie dying at 31 or something. Don't quote me exactly on it, but all these events have things that predate the event happen. The Sandy School in Connecticut, same thing. But check that out. We're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about the old world because I what do you know about the the buildings and the free energy back then? I actually have a little voltage tester. When I go outside in the field and I hold it up really high, it goes off.
Mm,
It goes
yeah,
off because we have this. We're connected to the negative or neutral Earth, and so that charge goes around you, and every meter up is 100, or it's like 96 volts. It increases. So if you stick an antenna at the top of a building, it's harvesting all that electricity. Now, somebody suggested the other day, and I've always thought about this, that as the world population grows and our power demands go up, they just keep building higher and higher buildings and put up big antennas. The One World Trade Tower, look at that antenna on top of that thing. It's supposedly for what? What's it for? It's
yeah,
harvesting. It's harvesting power.
yeah. See, over here they'd say it was for a flag that will never be raised. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a flagpole or it's a lightning conductor. And these are earthed. They are earthed. And old churches and old buildings, they are earthed.
And
Um, Sorry, Dave.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think that they do this in plain sight too. So we know that there is energy out there. We know that in our, literally in our realm, that there is energy in the ether, and they cleverly removed ether as one of the elements, and now it's considered to be sort of almost a mystical thing that doesn't really exist, but it did for a very long time, and I think that they do it in plain sight. And I always refer people to the first Back to the Future film, where they're trying to get the flux capacitor up and running again so Marty McFly can leave the past and return to the present day. And they do it using the pole on top of the building. The buildings get the town hall. The building's Greco-Roman, so we would
Yep.
say it's got that Tartarian style to it. And there you have someone demonstrating to you energy being harnessed, stored inside something, generating enough power to get the vehicle up and running and back to the future. It's there for everybody to see it. So I think that they use Hollywood and also the works of H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. It's always in plain sight. Interestingly enough, the last queen of Tartaria, or the last descendant, if you like, of royalty in Tartaria, which was sort of Russia, Asia, is called Queen Genepil, Genepil. Now, if you have a look at her and then have a look at the Star Wars film with Padme, who ended up marrying Anakin Skywalker before he became Darth Vader, they are the same people. She's wearing the same costume. She dresses as her. Then you've got Princess Leia dressing as a Hopi Indian. I think that they do this all the time in the movies. And I always say to people that Hollywood, the holly tree is what magic wands are made
Right.
from. It's where magic comes to life.
I'm sure you've seen the Scrawny to Brawny breakdown of Back to the Future and how it's all about 9/11. It literally, oh my God, if you haven't seen it, it's the best thing ever. There's 6 parts. I'm showing them right here on my app. If you just type in Scrawny, it'll come right up. It literally is the story of 9/11, where the terrorists come and knock down the Twin Pine Mall, and it becomes the Lone Pine Mall. And there's so much to it. It's undeniable. It's all about, and with Trump, the guy Biff
Tanner.
Biff Tanner, he's Trump.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just incredible. This is all predictive programming. A lot of people are like, what do you mean predictive programming? They're putting these stories in our minds so we'll accept them when they actually happen, because it's familiar. It's familiar. But if you haven't seen that, that is absolutely mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Scrawny to
I'll have
Brawny.
to do that.
Yeah.
Because I always say to people that about the Back to the Future, Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, connected all together, and then add someone called Ingersoll Lockwood into the mix, who wrote The Adventures of Baron Trump, about a boy that, do you know these books?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the boy lives in Castle Trump. His advisor, his mentor is Donald.
It looks just like him too.
Yeah, this massive head. And then you've got the book he brought out called The Last President. And I kind of want, the last president kind of is like a Donald Trump figure. He's this big New York businessman. No one thinks he's ever going to be president. And I think this is it. This is. But there's part of me that wonders, are the books 100 years old? Or are they made to appear to be 100 years old? Because they didn't become very popular until he was in office for the first time. So is there some sort of element of time travel going on? Or is it just another big lie? Or is it a coincidence? Which I stopped believing in those a long time ago.
Yeah, not that you can rule that one out. But I always wondered, were they just created?
Yeah, as part of a PR campaign. So it's almost a prophecy that Trump's supposed to be. But I just sort of started connecting dots. So Nikola Tesla dies. The first person on the scene is John G. Trump. He takes the files, but the 3 allegedly that he never hands over are time travel. Everything else is supposedly handed over ultimately to Nikola Tesla's nephew, who I can't track down or find any trace of. And then you've got Trump in office, now with Mr. Tech. And I know that he's not. I know that he just employs people that are. I don't believe he's invented or thought up anything. But you've got Musk now, or as soon as he was back in office, Musk seems to be the right-hand man of Trump. And I'm thinking, what if he's got Musk's team working on his uncle's files, and they are trying to get time travel up and running? Or is it all just prophecy again? Or is this just what we're supposed to see, kind of cinema or theatre? And the books kind of are almost like the icing on the cake,
I'm wondering at this point, is Elon even a real person? Are we seeing the same Elon? Is it, in different places? He looks different at different times. He literally looks like you ever see a picture of him with his shirt off? It's the weirdest body ever.
Yeah, he looks almost bloated.
He looks, I don't know what it is. I don't want to say cloned. I don't want to insult clones, but he looks completely, he looks like a robot, but I don't know what he is. I don't know what. And again, richest man in the world, fake space, everything he does is fake. right?
Mm,
Tesla is old technology. We had electric cars 100 years ago.
mm,
Um, and it's losing money. The Tesla just loses money. It needs government intervention to make it work.
mm.
Um, once everyone's in electric cars, you'll never be able to go where you want to go. You'll go where they let you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And turn it off if you've said something you shouldn't have the day before.
yeah.
You're not going anywhere today, Dave. We saw your podcast.
I've never said anything bad. Stop it. Stop.
I don't think mine would ever start. It would never leave the house. But I talk to people about Teslas. A few people I know have bought them. I said, do you know what the children went through? I mean, forget the fact that it's a load of bullshit to start with, but do you know what the children went through to get that battery? You know, that it's children mining to get the cobalt and the other materials that they need. It's kids, and they're being killed. They're being injured and killed. This is slavery. You're supporting it. You think you're doing your bit to save the world. My
And where's the
eldest lad.
electricity coming for that car? There's a great picture someone took on a highway Tesla charging station. There's like a whole row of Teslas all charging. And on the other side of the building is a giant diesel generator feeding the
Yeah.
electricity.
Yeah, I've seen that here. I've seen
Yeah.
diesel generators running them here. My eldest lad, he lives in Vancouver, and he says whenever someone goes past in a Tesla, everybody shouts at them. They're all booing and shouting at them. Everyone in a Tesla is
Wow.
just getting annihilated. I think good. I think the only good Tesla car is one that's burst into flames and been left on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, here's my prediction. In Florida, we have hurricanes sometimes, and they evacuate. And so when they do the evacuation, the highways get jammed up. Well, half the Teslas will die on the highway. The other
Yeah,
half will be left in their home garages because they can't even get them out because they didn't charge them ahead of time. And then the the tidal flow will come in. And all the Teslas will go underwater. They'll burst into flames and burn down every condo there is.
yeah.
They'll all burn
I
down. That's good.
I can
That's my
see.
prediction.
I think I can understand if I had a company car, if I was employed by a company and they gave me a company car and it was electric and I could charge it at work, then I can see there's a benefit there. I'm never going to have to pay for fuel again. I
Yep.
understand that. There's
Yep.
there's logic, financial logic there. But to go through choice to buy one, to think you are doing your bit to save the planet, and not understanding how they generate the electricity to start with fossil fuels, allegedly, because I don't actually believe that's how they do it. But if you follow that thought pattern, you know, we're burning fossil fuel for you to be able to plug your car in to start with. So what is it you're saving?
What do
How are you doing your bit?
Speaking about electricity again, what do you know about high tension power lines that go crisscross the country? Have you seen the ones that go and they loop right back to where they started from?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
illegal to take them down now. It's illegal that like no state can take down their high tension power lines. Here in the United States, it is illegal to demolish high tension power lines.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I,
because
I,
they're harvesting electricity.
Absolutely. It's exactly what they're doing. And I've spoken to a couple of people who actually here work for the National Grid, and they're saying that, do you know those cables don't actually run anywhere? They just finish off in the ground somewhere. They're not actually running to anything. And people have said, have you got any idea how much fuel you would need to burn to be able to power a city? And how many power stations are there? And if you thought about it logically, the cleanest, safest, and most efficient way to actually power a power station would be nuclear.
Right.
But they don't do that. We're still burning coal here. It doesn't make sense. These, I believe, are small Tesla towers, and we're actually being charged for something that's free.
You mean they're lying about that also? They're lying about everything.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah,
know.
it's
Is
amazing.
there anything they don't lie about?
Um, what else you got?
All I know is if one of them said, and I don't trust any of them, I think they're all friends. I think they're laughing at us. I think when they go to war, that it's just your turn to be the bad guy. They're all in it together. And, otherwise we wouldn't have something like the Antarctic Treaty in place. You've got countries that despise each other that still stand firm on that. It doesn't make any logical sense to me. And I just think that if any of them told me it was going to rain tomorrow, I would put my shorts and t-shirt on and get my shades out. I just don't believe. I think that they invert everything, and I think they've done that about people too. I think victors really do write the history, and I think that we've been told so much bull. I mean, if you just look at the Allies in the Second World War, we're all pointing the finger at Germany. Look at the atrocities. And then I think, well, hold on, look at what the Allies did. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Dresden. How long have you got? It just goes on and on. Carpet bombing places that were full of civilians that had nothing whatsoever of any significance to do with the war effort. And I just think what we did, the Allies did, is disgusting. But there are people here every day flying the Union Jack and proud to be British. I'm not. I'm not, because I'm not British. I'm English. I don't. And the UK, I'm not part of the United Kingdom. It's a corporation. I'm not a member of their staff. I'm not an employee. I'm me. That's it. I'm not part of it. I'm not part of any of their agenda. So I kind of just dismiss everything they say now. And I encourage people, and I'd never tell someone what they should and shouldn't do, because I don't have that authority. And I think we can all decide for ourselves. We just sometimes need help when we wake up, a bit of guidance. But I encourage people not to watch the news. I say you shouldn't vote. You shouldn't watch the news, because you're participating, and it's how propaganda works. You'll share something with someone, and before you know, everybody's talking about it. If people turned off and never watched the news again or bought a paper again, but it wouldn't work, So there are little things that we can do to show them we're not playing anymore. You're done. It's over. You had a good run at it. We're not just going to fall for this anymore.
Well, I do feel people are waking up, and they want us to. They love trying to say that flat Earth is dying. The truth, the all the other things are real. People aren't buying it. People are but then something like this Charlie Kirk thing happens here in the United States. I don't know how big it is where you are, but it is.
Yeah, pretty big.
It's everywhere. Like, I was just in Spain, and coming out of the hotel every morning, they had a big TV on, and it was all Charlie Kirk every time I went by it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is everywhere. So they're using this trauma-based mind control to invoke. Maybe it's just loose energy. Maybe that's all they want.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just trying to harvest our fear energy. And so, there's a lot of truthers out there that say something like this. Well, we shouldn't even be talking about it. Well, I think it's important to talk about it for the people that believe it. You need them to stop believing nonsense.
Yeah.
And and step away and look at it and enjoy it. Enjoy the show, because it is just a show. It's literally a ridiculous, stupid, crazy show.
And I think if people don't understand that, in the loose farm theory, that we are energy and they're just zapping it, all you've got to do is look at the judicial system, how we're treated if we commit an offence. Like over here, we have acts of parliament. Clearly, they're made up. And then we've committed an offence. It could be a motoring offence. And my answer to that is, well, who have I offended? A camera took a photograph of me doing 50 in a 40. Okay, it's said here that I've committed an offence, but you haven't supplied me with the details of who I offended. And then I go to court, and if I've done something really bad, I'll be charged, and then I'm placed in a cell. Well, that's a battery, isn't it? There's a definition that we are considered to be nothing but walking batteries, that we are energy. And then when you throw into the mix that if you look at the older prisons, and here certainly still most of them, they're made from red brick. And red brick can store energy in the same way that rust The chemical process that creates rust is the same process that energy can be stored inside red brick. And I think that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been harnessing our energy and living off it. And people just think you're barking mad, but it's actually, a chemical process. It happens, and I think that everything is there for people to see. You've just got to sort of break down the terminology and look at the words that are used, because they use that to trick us. Like the word united. I'm in the United Kingdom. You're in the United States. But united, I mean, it starts with the word un. As in undo or untie. It means the opposite of togetherness. It means to take apart. So I think it's very clever. Antibiotic is another interesting one. To take something to make you feel better, that in Latin translates to against human life, against humanity. The clues are always there. It's just so cleverly done that they've had the wool pulled over our eyes so much that they've got us talking in riddles. We are babbling and casting spells, and what a job they've done with everything, isn't it? From poisoning us through our food, through our water, through the sky, through medical interventions, to money, education. It's everything.
Everything's inverted. We watched the movie The Matrix, which is a documentary. It's literally the Matrix has so much truth in it. And then the movie Idiocracy. You ever see that?
Yeah.
Idiocracy, it used to be a comedy, but now it's a documentary. It literally became reality. I mean, here in America at the Republican convention, they had Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off, just like in the movie. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing. And people just eat it up. People just love it.
They do. Yeah, they just don't see it, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cloning, I'd say to people all the time that person's a clone, that person's actually born a male, that person was born a female, that person's been killed and replaced. I did one about David Beckham the other day. He did a huge publicity stunt over in London with the London Freemasons. They had donated a helicopter. Now, this is a sort of blood transportation service for the hospitals in London. Bright red helicopter, big Masonic London Freemason sign on it, and Prince William, future King of England, stood there with David Beckham. And I said to everybody, there's things you need to see with this photograph. This wasn't just PR for the Freemasons. One, why is the future King of England and David Beckham, now a member of the World Economic Forum and a Knight of the Realm, why are they presenting a helicopter? Fair enough, it's a lot of money, but why those two people? Why would you get two big shots, famous worldwide, to present something like that? Why is the most noticeable thing on the helicopter right in between their heads the Masonic symbol? And why does David Beckham look like Burt Reynolds? That is not David Beckham. And I think something happens when you get knighted over here. I think that you've offered some sort of service that's far and beyond doing good things for humanity. I think there's something else. I think you're selling your soul, a little bit like they say happens in Hollywood. And people started looking at it. Then all of a sudden people saying, well, actually, he was born a girl. Prince William's been replaced. And then off it went. And people are all having their own thoughts and ideas on this. And I said, you're kind of missing the point. Forget whether he was born a man or a woman. There's something more significant to this. I don't believe that those two people are Prince William and David Beckham. That is what I'm saying. And I think the Freemasons know that. So that's what we need to be looking at. And I just found it very strange. The image is quite popular. You should be able to find it online. Anybody who's watching, if they look for the helicopter and the image of William and David Beckham, and look at an early photograph of Burt Reynolds, and then look at David Beckham, you won't be able to see David Beckham anymore. He's changed, apart from the tattoos, beyond all recognition. And I'm starting to think that they are replacing people. That, people like Donald Marshall have been talking about this for years. Kevin Hart came out and said there was a good 2 or 3 of him. And I think that actually is going on. Then we had Mark Zuckerberg, who came out and said, when I used to be human. And There's something going on here. I think they are replacing people.
You know,
And
we've seen those pictures of like Eddie Murphy and Nicolas Cage back from the
yeah,
early 1800s. Was that really taken in the 1800s, or are those just new pictures and they're just AIing them, making them look old?
yeah.
I think it's the latter.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to tell because there's a really, I mean, first of all, how many people had access to cameras back then? You know, you had to have, they weren't popular. We didn't all have one. And there's a really interesting one of Jay-Z. And it's a photograph of this black dude on a corner of a street in Harlem. And I thought, well, that's a really strange photo to take because you wouldn't have the luxury of just being able to take random photos of anybody back then. Cameras hadn't been around that long when the photo was taken, but it is clearly him. And then people start saying, are they immortal? You know, do these people just keep going, live forever like Highlander? You know, or do they reincarnate or are they cloned? When their body's coming to the end, they pop another one out, and this
Or
time they're going to
or
be
was
an actor.
or was the picture created a couple of months ago?
Yeah, and we're going to find that harder to determine now. AI has got to the point where you
Yep.
don't know if what you're seeing is real or not. A lot of people say that about the Twin Towers, that it was CGI, that the planes actually never hit. I know someone that was there at the time, and he swears blind. He's quite a famous podcaster over here. He's called Allegedly Dave, and he
So
does
so let me tell you about allegedly David. I knew you were going to bring him up. That when you said
right.
that, I knew it was him. He was actually across the Hudson River, and I trust allegedly Dave. He saw an airplane. He says he saw an airplane.
Mm,
I know that he's not lying. Now, was it a hologram? I don't think so. No, I
yes.
don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. Right. So there was right after 9/11 a video of an airplane accelerating upwards past the towers, and it was all white. It was a white airplane, and it was accelerating past the towers. So you're across the Hudson River. You're told that a plane hit the first tower. You see the smoke coming off, so you know a plane hit the tower. Okay, so you have your pre-programmed plane hitting tower. Now a real airplane comes across the Hudson River. You're seeing it heading towards the tower. You're watching the airplane as it goes past the tower. The tower explodes. It goes. What are you looking at now? You're looking at the
yeah.
airplane. You're
Mm,
looking at the explosion, going, "Oh my God!" Even if the plane, I believe, for lack of a better word, it cloaked. I believe they have technology where they have the bottom of the plane is like a television screen skin, and they shoot the cameras up at the sky and they project it on the bottom of the plane. So now it's
yeah.
invisible. It's invisible. But even if it didn't get invisible, who's going to be watching the airplane? Who's going to be watching the explosion on the tower?
Yeah.
Everyone's eye is on the tower. No one's paying attention to that airplane anymore. They can't even see it, even if it didn't camouflage itself.
Yeah.
So I believe that's what Dave saw, right? Because no
Yeah.
planes crashed anywhere on 9/11. That's a fact.
That makes a lot more sense.
Did I just make
Yeah,
the
than the
666? I
CGI.
was saying no plane crashed anywhere. That's not the 666. I'm just making a point. Okay. People are so retarded. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You're a Freemason. I just did the 666.
Oh
It's over.
man.
Someone will screenshot that. Russian vids will screenshot it. And then, stupid other people will mirror it. And then they'll say, I'm on a show with a Freemason. And this is what we have to deal with. I also
I
think,
get it all this. Sorry.
what's going on right now? There's a truth or test, seeing who can pass the test. Who's going to not be fooled? A lot of truthers are fooled by this Charlie Kirk thing. A lot of people that I really respect totally lost the ball on this one. I think they're just trying to see, they're trying to weed people out. Maybe when this whole world splits, they're going to be like, hey, you passed the test. At least I hope. That'll be good.
That's what I think's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that that's where we're going. See, I often think that the pandemic was a test. That maybe it wasn't just about trying to get rid of as many people as possible with a slow burn. What if it was actually the opposite? What if it was getting rid of people that are NPCs? So there are less people to come on the next journey. What if that is the case? Because I would like to think that if a UFO, or let's not say UFO, but you know what I mean, if some sort of craft or a being appeared that I knew wasn't, perhaps there's telepathy going on that I could sense was from a different realm, and it was here to help me, and it just appeared in the field opposite my house, then I would want to talk to it. I would be, and I do sometimes when I see things in the sky, I try and talk to them and say, I'm here, show me something. Whereas I think the majority of people, if something landed in the field next to them, they'd be out there with a shotgun. You know, they'd be scared and they'd want to kill it. Their first instinct would be, it's come here to anal probe me. It's going to abduct me and do all sorts of horrible things. And I kind of think, well, if they're advanced enough to get here, and if they're advanced enough to have the tech to get here, then they've got no real need to stick something up your ass. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know where that's come from. And I wonder if it was a test. And are there going to be some more tests? Because over here we had in May an act go through Parliament that's got to sit for a year before it can actually be enforced. And it was with the World Health Organization that they will take full power and control should there be another pandemic. So I think we're going to see something April, May next year, 4th of July maybe. But around that sort of time, I think they're going to have another go at something like that as a big push towards digital ID. And I think that will be the catalyst for it. And perhaps the people that don't fall for this one and didn't fall for the last one are going to be the ones that, you passed, you did it, you didn't fall for any of it. You've been speaking out, you've been shot down, you've been ridiculed, and you're still here. These were tests. We're separating the wheat from the chaff. Congratulations, you're coming with us on this next journey. At least I really hope that that's what's going to happen.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. I just think that there's got to be a purpose for this. We're shouting from the rooftops that we don't believe in so many of their lies, and we're trying to sort of wake people up. And you are shot down for it. You are ridiculed. We come across a lot, a lot of people that just want to attack and won't question anything and hate anybody that does. And I think that there's got to be an ultimate goal for us doing it, an ultimate purpose for us doing it. And my hope is that we'll be rewarded with perhaps seeing things for the better and maybe humanity having a better outcome than how grim and bleak things look now. But I don't think there's room for everyone on that journey.
It's going to be interesting when, I think the world's going to split into like two groups, people that go into their 15-minute cities. They do their thing. They go into like the line. Have you seen the line in Saudi Arabia?
Yes. Oh man.
That thing proves flat Earth, by the way. It's 170 miles long and it's straight. There's no curvature.
Yeah, as do canals.
And there'll be, if they finish that ever, there'll be people living in there that never come out.
Yeah,
people born in there and never come out.
And they'll think it's cool as well. Look where we live. Look, isn't this high tech?
It'll be like Logan's Run. Logan's Run. They'll look outside at the outside people.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And people don't realize that. They queue for the latest iPhone, just something else that's going to monitor them, take a photo every 20 seconds of them, maybe. And I was told today, I'm guessing you know David Icke.
Yeah.
Well, I was chatting to his son, Gareth.
Yeah, I know. I met Gareth.
Gareth was telling me about this app. There's an app that's been installed automatically onto Android phones that actually monitors every single app you use, copies all of your messages, all your interactions, absolutely everything, and then uploads it to somewhere, and you can't remove it. It comes as standard on all Android phones. It can't be removed. You can deactivate it, and then it turns itself back on. Now, What are they doing with that?
Well, they're taking all sorts of data. I have an iPhone right here. Here's my iPhone. But we can use their technology against them. We're using Zoom. They monitor this stuff. AI is listening to everything that we're saying, but we're using it against them. If it wasn't for their technology, we wouldn't be able to have these conversations. We wouldn't be able to wake people up. So you kind of have to just It's like cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is monitoring. It's literally a controlled bank coin at this point. But then there's like Monero and there's other privacy coins and stuff that people are using, which is bypassing their system. So again, everything they try, we can take it the other way. We can pivot it and use it against them best that we can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Take their technology and use it for
Yep.
our purposes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just wonder if sometimes they're going to, if you're outspoken enough. I mean, there's someone called Katie Hopkins over here. She just got arrested this week again for saying something, and I just think, how hard would it be for them to plant things onto her hard drive or onto
Oh,
her phone somewhere?
I was just thinking that today. They could like I'm very careful on what I post. Put my thoughts out there, but I'm very careful. I never do anything threatening, nothing like that.
No.
Nothing. If I don't know and something's not a fact, I'll post it as a question and stuff. But I'm like, they could just do something, put all these tweets out there. They threatened this, he did that, and then arrest me. But
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Live in fear? I don't live in fear.
No, no, we can't. We can't. I get people all the time telling me that, how do you sleep at night? You're on a list. People are going to come and get you. I did a live broadcast with someone a few weeks ago, and this person just popped up and he started attacking every single person that was commenting. And then the final one was, don't think that I can't find you, to me. I thought, oh, whatever. Because you can't think like that. Because I am in the middle of nowhere, I hear everything, a car going past, an owl in the middle of the night. And I can't live in fear because I'd never get anything done. And I think that that's the point. They want us to be afraid. They want us to be afraid of everything. And that's the job of the news. And that's how propaganda works. But say you said something earlier on about you being accused of being a Freemason. I get told, one minute I'm told
You
that I'm
are a Freemason.
yeah, but a 33rd degree,
Is
you
that
know.
good or bad? I have no idea.
Well, people perceive it as being bad. It's as high as it gets, and then there are darker
So
degrees after
are you
that.
still an active Freemason? Do you go to lodge
No, oh
meetings?
God, no, I don't think they'd want me back. I've been talking about them for a
Have
while
they
now.
told you any secrets that you're not allowed to reveal?
No, it's all a little bit of a myth, to be
Well, that's
fair.
what you would say if they told you not to reveal it.
No, I'll tell you exactly. There are 33 levels, and the 33rd degree is invitation only. And when I joined, I thought I was going to find out who built the pyramids, who runs the world, how does it all work. I didn't have anything to gain career or financially wise because I was a tattoo artist, and a lot of the people in my lodge were serving police officers. And I watched them use it to get promoted. And it was really clever. So what they'd do is you'd be maybe a low-ranking police officer, but in the flying squad in Scotland Yard, high profile, but not top of the food chain. So what you do is you get your inspector to join the Freemasons. Your inspector comes in, your boss, and you're above him now. In the Freemasons, you're above him. So you get him in the Freemasons, he owes you a favour, there's a promotion coming up, you're not going to get it naturally. But he has to protect you. He makes an oath to not do anything to harm a brother. Well, that could be considered as a promotion at work. But he also owes you because you got him into Freemasonry. So I watched all of these coppers just getting promoted all the time. They hardly did anything. They were always dodging and skiving, and they were never really. They just appeared to be, ones playing golf when they should have been at work. And I just saw it, and I got sick to death of it. And I thought, well, how am I 10 years in at this point going to get to the 33rd degree? And it was pretty obvious I wasn't. So I got to where most people get to, which is a master Freemason. That's the third degree. And they share with you things about King Solomon's temple. They share with you, there's a handshake. They call it a grip or a token. There's a password. And there's certain things that you can do, signals that you can do to show other people you're a Freemason. You could possibly use it in court if you thought the judge was a Freemason. There are things that you can do to show them.
Like what?
Oh, I can't show you that because the
So there
bastards
are
will
things
get
you're
me.
not allowed
But
to show.
I
There
can't
are
show
things.
those because they still say that when the ultimate price for revealing that is to have your tongue cut out and then you're drowned.
So you took an oath to say that you agreed to that.
Yeah, when you join. So when you join, anything that they share with you, which is connected to the password or the handshake, is considered to be the ultimate. You know, that's the ultimate kind of sin, if you like. And the punishment for that in London used to be to cut your tongue out, tie you to a post in the River Thames when the tide was out. And so when the tide came back in, you couldn't scream because they'd cut your tongue out, so you drown. And that's told to you. That is explained. They tell you that is what will happen if you share this stuff. But it doesn't really matter too much, you know, because I didn't get high up enough. I always say to people, if you want to know the handshake, if you want to know any of the stuff that I learned, it's on Google. You can find it on Google. I wasn't high up enough, and I knew I was never going to get high up enough. I wanted to join the Knights Templar because I found that interesting, but
That
it was even harder. You
is
know, the
that part of the
learning.
Freemasons, the Knights
Yeah,
Templar.
yeah. So you've got the regular Freemasons, which they call craft, and then you've got offshoots, and that's how you get these higher degrees. That's how you sort of go up through the ranks, and they call that chapter. And the Knights Templar is probably the best known one. But once you become a Master Freemason, you can then join the Knights Templar. And for me, by this point, I thought, well, what else have I got to learn? Because I was finding it hard to learn all of the stuff and recite it just for the regular Freemason meetings when there's a ritual, and that tended to be someone joining. And each person plays a role, and the higher up you go each year you're promoted, you've got something to do within the ritual, and you're having to remember lines. And they said, oh, it's a lot more learning. There are three masters of the lodge. It's all different, blah, blah, blah. And this person was telling me as if I was supposed to be excited. And I was thinking, I waste enough time as it is. I'm never going to get where I want to get. I don't have the breeding. I don't have the connections to get promoted in Freemasonry high enough. You want me to now join something else where I'm not going to be able to get anywhere progressively in that? For what? You know, what will I get from that? And I just decided not to bother. And I was kind of bored of it by then anyway, because it was taking me 2 hours to get there because it was in central London. They'd introduced a congestion charge, so I had to pay to get into London itself, to drive into London. Then I had to pay an incredible amount of money to park. Then I've got to pay for my meal. Then I've got to pay my membership. And I was a self-employed tattoo artist. It was costing me at least £200 or £300 to go to a meeting. And on a few occasions I turned up and there weren't enough people there to actually have a lodge meeting. You need at least 10. Otherwise, all of these roles can't be fulfilled. So you can't actually do anything. You can't open the lodge if half the people are missing. And I'd find out one's playing golf, one forgot, one's on a job, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I just thought, I'm sick of this. I've just had enough. It wasn't what I was told it was going to be. I thought I was going to be on this journey where I'd get right to the top if I was patient enough and attended all the meetings and learnt all my lines, and then I'd find out who runs the world. Why are we here? Who built the pyramids? It's not the case. It was never going to happen. So I lobbed in the towel, and then I started telling people, you know, I left because I thought it was just bullshit. Just, you know, coppers in my case, coppers helping each other out. I don't want anything more to do with it. It's not what I thought it was. And that was it. I thought, well, I put it in my book as well. I wrote about it a bit in my book. And I thought, well, I haven't been for quite a long time, for years now. They're not going to want me back, Dave. Not that I want to go, but
Okay.
I wouldn't be welcome. But yeah, I was low ranking. People think Master Freemason, wow, that's high up. It's third out of 33 levels. Three. Position number 3.
All right. We've been going an hour and a half. Any final thoughts? Where can people find you? Tell us everything.
Well, until they come and get me, They can
You'll be
find.
right here.
I'm here. Yeah. So the easiest place is my website because I've got a YouTube channel, um, and I've got a Facebook page and a group, and you know, Instagram and stuff. But my website's probably the best place. I put a blog on there. It's things I can't put on social media because I'll just lose my account.
What's your
And also,
website?
it's called the Tartarian Empire
Okay.
.co.uk. And I wanted to use .co.uk because some people don't realize when they order a book that it's coming from the UK. So it might not turn up tomorrow. It's got a bit of a journey ahead of it. So they can buy copies of the book on there, and I sign them before I send them out. They can get them on Amazon, and they can get them online and other places. But the blog they might find interesting as well because it's everything I can't put on social media. And so I put things on there about Tony Blair, things on there about North Korea, just stuff that I know I would be shut down for. So yeah, people chat to me all the time on there, and I try and reply to everything.
Real quick on North Korea, do you have information on that giant building that was there that was taller than the trade towers?
No,
There,
no, I would no. My sort of angle with North Korea was, are we being lied to?
yes, we are.
Yeah, and I applied to go, and I've
Sure.
written to King Jong as well, and I'm just seeing
There,
how it
there was
goes.
I might even still have the video. There was a tower there taller than the World Trade Towers were, and they redid it. They put glass. They changed the outside of it, but it was an old like an old world building, super tall. We never heard about it.
No, I
Yeah,
just
amazing.
think that there's something going on there. I mean, they turned South Korea into basically America, and I think North Korea, there's something going on there, and I think they're just not playing ball. They don't want to know what we're doing, and I think in return for that, they've been made to look like they're backwards. And I want to get out there and check it out for myself. I no longer believe anything I've been told about North Korea. I think it's just fake, inverted, a total inversion.
Interesting. I was thinking maybe it's a place where the elite go and hide. Maybe it's a wonderful vacation place for the elite. How would
Could
we ever
be.
know? How would we ever
No, we
know?
don't. They got
Yeah,
skiing resorts there, haven't they?
yeah, yeah. How would we ever know?
Mm.
Um, all right. Well, Guy, awesome. I can't wait to read your book. And um, for those of you that are looking for me, I'll be on October 25th and 26th at truthercon.com in Texas. And then after that, I will be at the International Truth Expo in Arizona in November. And then after that, I'll be at Anarchapulco in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico in February. So um, if you're looking to get out and be around truthers, that's where I'll be.
Thank you, Dave. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
David Weiss here. I've been taking Masterpiece for probably over a year, maybe even 2 years. And the detox I feel from it is amazing. I have never felt better in my life. I know that sounds like a lot, but um, I sleep better. I have amazing dreams when I take it at night. I take it twice a day most of the time, but sometimes I only take it once a day because I forget. But it's definitely an amazing product. And now with the new research they've done where it is literally getting rid of the nanotech in your body, I can't imagine not having any. So there you go. That's my testimony. And I love the stuff and I'm never going to stop taking it. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this interview, please help support my work and help wake up others by referring or gifting the app to at least one person today. By doing that, you're going to help wake people up and help me to continue doing other interviews like this. With the censorship out there that's going on, it's very difficult to find relevant information. And the app, as you know, brings people to the truthful information of our world. So help support my work, help support your efforts in waking up friends, family, and strangers. Gift them the app or just recommend the app. And let's make 2025 the year Flat Earth breaks free.
Check the links below for information on how to gift the app or just refer the app to others and use your referral code to earn Dome cryptocurrency and a free subscription. Thanks.